Hello, this is the part 2 of cardiomyopathy. In this video, we are going to discuss dilated cardiomyopathy. Cardiomyopathy is an important topic. It's a high-yield topic for various types of examinations. So let's start dilated cardiomyopathy. The ultimate events in dilated cardiomyopathy are decreased myocardial contractility with four-chamber dilatation, and ultimately a patient can suffer from low output heart failure because of decreased myocardial contractility. To understand dilated cardiomyopathy, we should have a basic knowledge about sarcomere proteins and cytoskeletal proteins which are found in cardiac myocytes. Each heart muscle cell, cardiac myocyte, is composed of bundles of myofibrils. Myofibrils are composed of myofilaments. Sarcomere is the basic contractile unit of myofibril. It is situated between two Z lines. There are various types of contractile proteins in sarcomere. These proteins are troponins, tropomyosin, actin, and myosin. The protein titin is necessary for the assembly of sarcomere. Cytoskeletal proteins are necessary for the integrity of a cardiac myocyte. Dystrophin and desmin are the cytoskeletal proteins. Dystrophin is found in the cytoplasm of cardiac myocyte. It binds with actin on one side and with extracellular matrix through the dystroglycan on the other side. So dystrophin is very important for the stability of cardiac myocytes. We have revised our basic knowledge of microanatomy of cardiac myocytes. Now let's study the most common type of cardiomyopathy, that is dilated cardiomyopathy. There is four-chamber dilatation and impaired ventricular myocardial contractility in dilated cardiomyopathy, and such dysfunction is called systolic dysfunction. Because of decreased myocardial contractility, stroke volume, cardiac output, and ejection fraction are decreased. In advanced case, a patient can suffer from systolic heart failure. This diagram shows four-chamber dilatation in dilated cardiomyopathy. Both sides of the heart are affected. A patient can suffer from left heart failure and right heart failure in advanced stage. Heart failure in dilated cardiomyopathy is called congestive cardiomyopathy because pulmonary congestion can occur in left ventricular failure and systemic venous congestion can occur in right ventricular failure. In left ventricular failure, blood from lungs cannot drain into the left atrium, so congestion of blood occurs in the lungs. In right ventricular failure, blood from inferior vena cava and superior vena cava cannot drain into the right atrium, so there is congestion of blood in the systemic veins. On the basis of etiology, dilated cardiomyopathy is of three types: primary, secondary, and idiopathic. Now let's study primary dilated cardiomyopathy. This type of dilated cardiomyopathy occurs because of genetic mutations. The mutations occur in genes which code for two types of proteins. Number one, sarcomeric proteins. Number two, cytoskeletal proteins. So we have already revised our basic knowledge about these proteins in the earlier slides. 35 to 45% of genetic dilated cardiomyopathies may result from sarcomere gene mutations. Majority of such mutations affect titin gene. And we have already discussed that titin gene is required for the assembly of sarcomere in cardiac myocytes. So when there is mutation of titin gene, there is decreased sarcomere content in the cardiac myocytes. And as a result, myocardial contractility is decreased. In 80 to 90% patients, mutated sarcomeric genes transmission occurs by autosomal dominant inheritance pattern. X-linked recessive dilated cardiomyopathy can occur, but it's rare. When there is mutation of gene which encodes for dystrophin protein, then such disease can occur. The inheritance pattern is X-linked recessive. There is complete absence of dystrophin protein in cardiac muscle in this type of dilated cardiomyopathy. In some cases of X-linked dilated cardiomyopathy, symptoms are limited to heart only. But in other cases, patient presents with both cardiac and skeletal muscle symptoms. Dystrophin protein is also found in skeletal muscles. So that's why in some patients, both cardiac and skeletal muscles are affected. With the help of this animated illustration, I would like to show you how complete or partial deficiency of cytoskeletal protein can lead to degeneration of a cardiac myocyte. Dystrophin is the most important cytoskeletal protein in cardiac myocyte. Dystrophin is found in the cytoplasm. It binds with actin on one side and with extracellular matrix via dystoglycan on the other side. When there is a deficiency of dystrophin, the anchorage between actin and with dystoglycan plus extracellular matrix is lost. Then gradually, sarcolemma begins to disintegrate. Because of disintegration of sarcolemma, tears develop in the cardiac myocyte. Such muscle cells die by osmotic lysis. The lost muscle cells in the myocardium are replaced by fibrosis. In this slide, I have presented the bird's eye view of pathophysiology of primary dilated cardiomyopathy. Both the types of genetic mutations cause impairment of myocardial contractility by different pathogenetic mechanisms. Dilated cardiomyopathy can occur secondary to different etiological factors. Toxic cardiomyopathy is the most important secondary dilated cardiomyopathy. It can occur in chronic alcohol abuse. Metabolites of alcohol, particularly acetaldehyde, have a direct toxic effect on myocardial cells. Chronic alcoholism also can cause beriberi because of thiamine deficiency. In beriberi, heart can be affected. Myocardial cell injury can occur during chemotherapy. Anthracyclines can injure myocardial cells due to reactive oxygen species. Secondary dilated cardiomyopathy can occur in hemochromatosis. Before going into the details of hemochromatosis, we have to understand what is ferritin, what is hemosiderin, and what is hemosiderosis. Ferritin is the oxidized state of iron molecules. Complex of many ferritin molecules is called hemosiderin. Excess of ferritin and thus hemosiderin can occur in iron overload after multiple transfusions, for example in thalassemia. Excess of ferritin and hemosiderin also can occur in hereditary hemochromatosis. When there is accumulation of hemosiderin in macrophages and parenchymal cells, in organs, then the condition is known as hemosiderosis. Hemosiderosis can occur in heart, lungs, kidney, spleen, skin. When there is cell injury because of hemosiderosis, then the condition is known as hemochromatosis. Cell injury in hemosiderosis occurs because of reactive oxygen species. Inflammation of myocardium is another cause of secondary dilated cardiomyopathy. Myocarditis can occur because of viral infections, bacterial infections, and fungal infections. Myocardial cell injury and inflammation of myocardium may be because of inflammatory mediators, lysosomal enzymes of inflammatory cells, and reactive oxygen species synthesized by the inflammatory cells. Dilated cardiomyopathy can occur during peripartum period because of several reasons. It can occur because of pregnancy-associated hypertension, volume overload, nutritional deficiency, gestational diabetes, and ischemic injury of myocardial cells. Ischemic injury of myocardial cells can occur because of impaired angiogenesis, because of anti-angiogenic cleavage products of hormone prolactin, and because of placental-derived antagonists to the vascular endothelial growth factor. Fortunately, 50% of these patients recover normal function. Prognosis of dilated cardiomyopathy is not good. By the time it is diagnosed, dilated cardiomyopathy has frequently already progressed to end-stage disease. The heart is dilated and poorly contractile. The heart is flabby. Now let's discuss the pathophysiology of dilated cardiomyopathy. Uh, these are the events which occur sequentially in dilated cardiomyopathy. Uh, Number one, because of the various etiological factors, there is impairment of myocardial contraction. It is called systolic dysfunction. Because of systolic dysfunction, ejection fraction, stroke volume, and cardiac output are reduced. In end-stage dilated cardiomyopathy, ejection fraction is less than 25%. Congestive heart failure can occur in advanced stage. Left heart failure can lead to pulmonary congestion, and right heart failure can lead to systemic venous congestion. Secondary mitral regurgitation and abnormal cardiac rhythms are common in dilated cardiomyopathy. A dilated cardiomyopathy most commonly is diagnosed between 20 and 50 years of age. Our patient comes with clinical features of decreased cardiac output, and these features are dyspnea, easy fatigability, poor exertional capacity. 50% of the patients die within 2 years of diagnosis. The cause of death can be severe heart failure or cardiac arrhythmia. Only 25% survive longer than 5 years after diagnosis of dilated cardiomyopathy. Morphology of dilated cardiomyopathy: heart is enlarged 2 to 3 times its normal weight. All chambers are dilated. There is 4-chamber dilatation. Ventricles are dilated more than the atria. Ventricular wall thickness is less than equal to or mildly greater than normal. Thrombi can form in the stagnant blood of dilated heart chambers, and these thrombi are known as mural thrombi. Left ventricle is the most common site for mural thrombi formation. Thromboembolism can occur. These are the microscopic features in dilated cardiomyopathy. Most of the cardiac myocytes are hypertrophied with enlarged nuclei. Cardiac myocytes are lost, and the lost myocytes are replaced by fibrosis. In the interstitium, T lymphocytes and macrophages are increased in number. Myofibrils are lost or decreased in the cytoplasm of cardiac myocytes, and the cardiac myocytes appear empty and vacuolated. In this photomicrograph, you can see bluish stained fibrotic area. In dilated cardiomyopathy due to hemochromatosis, hemosiderin accumulation can be seen in cardiac myocytes. Special stain, Prussian blue stain, is used uh, to demonstrate um, hemosiderin within myocytes. Next video will be on hypertrophic and restrictive cardiomyopathy. So see you in cardiomyopathy part 3. Thank you for listening to me.